had this vision for St. Jack to be like elevated, luxury, slim irons sitting by the pool in Palm Springs. Like that's where the blue comes from. Yeah. And there's like one particular image from Slim Irons. It's called Poolside Gossip. It hangs in my kitchen now.
I think
you'll know the one. Like now. The chick in the yellow dress.
Yep.
And I was like, this is the beginning. Like this is the springboard for all of the branding for what St. Jack is and like what it's going to look and feel like. So I had that. And I only really got introduced to Slim Irons because I had coffee with a friend. She was like, what you're describing reminds me so much of this photographer. You need to go check him out.
Sometimes there's one photo and I call it the muse.
Yes.
And it's like, that's my muse. It's like one image.
Yeah.
It's something about it, the mood of that image, and you want to take that mood and create that.
It's exactly what happened. And I look at that photo every day because it hangs in my house.
Yeah.
And I still feel like that encapsulates everything like I want in my life and my brand and everything. And
kept you on brand.
It has kept me on brand.
Hello and welcome to Truth on a Pedestal, a podcast solely dedicated to talking about how businesses are started and how brands are built. I'm Justine, creative director and founder at Malone Co Studio, and today I'm sitting here with the founder of St. Jack, Beth Wilson. Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the reason I had you on the show, and I'm so glad that you've decided to be here, is because you primarily, for the existence of your business, have had one product and you've survived with one product and you've sold out many times. And I'm so eager to get into the depth of your branding and how you've been able to keep your business and your product alive.
Mm-hmm.
So first, I would like to go back into your background and sort of where you came from just before your idea. So tell me about your your upbringing and your career, like leading up to it.
Go all the way back to upbringing?
Just briefly. Just briefly, just so people can understand your background, like your dynamic, where you came from.
Yeah, all good. So born and raised in Melbourne, youngest of Mandy and David's 4 daughters. Both of my parents were extremely hardworking entrepreneurs, and I think that kind of lends itself to obviously what I've now done with my life. They owned their own businesses. I worked for my dad for a time in something completely different to this, like construction and insurance, after I finished school, and I got to see firsthand like what he had to put into it and then what my mum had to put into it to really make it successful. And we had a bit of a rule in my house where it was like, you either work or you go to school. I did both. Went to Melbourne Uni, did criminology, thought I wanted to be a lawyer. That didn't work out. I just didn't really want to do it. I just thought that was the path from my schooling that I had to go down. I always had a really big passion for makeup, and I think I started earning money when I was working with my dad at the rise of beauty e-commerce. So being able to buy products online from mostly the States, from brands like ColourPop, and then, seeing the rise of Kylie Cosmetics and really e-commerce specific brands that were being built at the time, and just hoarding product. Yeah, I was obsessed with products. I eventually went to New York and did a makeup course with Priscilla Ono, who is, she still is now, but she was at the time Rihanna's makeup artist. Yeah. And then she later became kind of the head of artistry for Fenty Beauty, Rihanna's brand.
To get into that course.
It was just, she still does that now. It was just a paid course. And my mum and my older sister thought that it would be a good idea for me to go over there and do it, to see whether makeup artistry was something I wanted to pursue.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I did the course and it scared the shit out of me. Can I swear? Can I say that?
Yes, this is I don't think kids kill it.
So, okay, great. It scared the shit out of me because the American kind of attitude was very different. It was like, I'm going to be the next superstar, and we're very kind of tall poppy. And I was like, oh God, I don't have that kind of confidence, I guess, that I was like, oh no, I think maybe I just want to work in the beauty business or something. But that was ages ago. That was 2016. And I got home and my friends and family still wanted me to do their makeup all the time because I'd done the course and I had so many products.
Yeah.
That eventually a few years later, I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it a crack, even though I felt like when I did that course, it maybe wasn't for me. I'm going to see how I go.
Yeah.
And then my artistry career was actually probably at the peak of its momentum the summer that COVID happened. So going into the very beginning of 2020.
What did you do in that career? Like were you doing? Friends, family, weddings, fashion?
I wasn't really doing any fashion. It started just doing friends and family makeup, and then there was word of mouth. So they would go to a wedding or a birthday party or wherever they were going. Someone say, "I love your makeup. Where'd you get that done?" And I slowly built up my clientele, and I was really doing special event makeup artistry and bridal by the end of it.
And was it a full time?
No,
You're not working while you're doing that?
yeah, I was working while I was doing that during the week. I've always had like bits and pieces jobs.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a couple of days here. I'm going to do a couple of days there. I haven't had like a proper like full time like 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job since 2019. Yeah.
Okay.
I just doing bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So I built out that momentum, really just doing that on the weekends, Friday nights, whatever. And then COVID happened. All the events got either postponed or cancelled, whatever it is. And that's really when I had a surplus of time up my sleeve and had the idea of St. Jack.
And you were already looking at all of these e-commerce beauty brands online. So there would have been something in there that was guiding you towards it.
Well,
In that space?
interestingly enough, I was really, with those brands, I was just purely a consumer. I think one of those bits and pieces jobs I was talking about, and the last proper full-time job I ever had, I was working as a sales person at a major Australian marketing agency.
Okay.
And so my job every day was to meet with other e-commerce businesses, not necessarily in beauty, a lot of fashion, a lot of baby brands. This was in the boom of like, I was going to say Instagram ads, but it'd be Meta now.
Yeah.
And really showing them the way of, we can help you make so much more money with digital marketing. And so I think I got to see from them firsthand what building a brand looks like and having a passion for something and starting a product. And so it was kind of from them and that experience that I felt maybe like it could be done.
Yeah, you saw the behind the scenes and what it took. So it wasn't such a facade. It wasn't so unknown.
Yeah.
Which may have did it take some of the fear away?
If it did then, it hasn't now. But yeah, it didn't seem so mysterious.
Yeah.
I mean, really in the conversations that I was having with a lot of those prospects and then later clients for the agency, we weren't really talking about production and manufacturing and things like that. But it was really the other side of it, the marketing, all the stuff that I really love now, that we could really go into. And I thought, well, anything's really achievable if you get those fundamental things right.
In the marketing. Yeah, absolutely. So you've decided in COVID, you have this idea. How did the idea of this product come?
So I downloaded TikTok like everyone else.
Yeah.
And I downloaded it because I was doing makeup on myself for content. So that's when I actually taught myself how to be a content creator, was during that period, just for my own entertainment.
Yeah.
And one night, I think it was in March of 2020, I was scrolling TikTok before bed and I saw another beauty founder in Melbourne kind of do one of those classic videos like, they told me I couldn't start an e-commerce business, but look at me now. And it's like, labels printing out and like, the dogs, there's so many labels, the dog's wearing it as a jacket and, she's so successful and blah, 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 and all this sort of stuff. And I went to bed thinking, I wish I could do that. Yeah. And then a few minutes later, drawing on that experience I had with so many small business owners, I was like, well, I could do that, but what would I do? I had thought in the past about starting a beauty brand, but my concern was the oversaturation in the market. And really just everything had been done. Yeah. And I would never want to make something that didn't offer new value, really. It'd be very easy for me right now to go on Alibaba and make a blush, but I would never want to do that. Like I would want to formulate and whatever. And that's very, very difficult. Yeah. And so I did a mental inventory of my professional makeup kit. Mm-hmm. What did I have and what did I not have? But what did I like and what didn't I like? And I had a product really similar to this one, which is the makeup cleaning mist, which was my first product. Yeah. It was imported from either Canada or the States. And it was one of the first products I remember using when I bought it and just feeling the bottle in my hand and being like, this is really cheap. They've just put a generic label over the top of a generic bottle. The mist isn't very fine. It's dropping really chunky droplets onto my palettes and stuff. And I just thought when I used it, I was like, that was pretty shit. And then, so when I was doing this inventory of what would I make if I was going to make something, I was like, well, I could probably do that better. Yeah. And that was about it.
So you looked into what you do, what you know, and then what is your pain point? Yeah. And what is something that will be other people's pain points as well.
Well, specifically for the makeup cleaning mist, so it's an alcohol-based spray.
Yeah.
And the idea is a professional makeup artist will use the same eyeshadow palette, for example, on if you were in a bridal party, they'll use it on you and everyone else, considering your tones are roughly similar.
Yeah.
But your bacteria is on your face is different to mine.
Yeah.
And brushes going back and forth between faces and whatnot, that's how you get styes. And other sorts of things. So you need to spray it down between uses. And so particularly coming into the post-COVID era, hoping that that was going to be sooner than it ended up being, I figured that something like that would be very important.
Yeah.
And it was probably one of the last things that, from my understanding of the beauty product landscape in Australia, wasn't really being paid attention to. So that's sort of where I came up with doing that.
And what was your first step once you came up with the idea?
So I had the idea at night. And the next morning I texted one of my friends. I got on FaceTime with her. I think I still have a screenshot of that. And I just said, this is my idea. I'm going to make it. I had an idea that I wanted to make it an aerosol so that the mist would be really, really fine.
Yeah.
Turns out manufacturing aerosol products is really hard. Your minimum order quantities are really high.
What are they?
I think when I asked somebody at that time, it was like 15,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way I'm doing that.
Sell 15,000.
I was like, hey, what is it? I was like, I don't even have that much money. I went online and I Googled cosmetic manufacturers in Melbourne because I figured it would be good for me to be with someone close by.
Yeah.
Maybe COVID's going to end soon. I mean, we're only a couple months into COVID, by the way. Maybe it's going to end soon. I can go visit them and I can get some content. Yeah, that was already like running through my head. And then I didn't really get many responses from cosmetic manufacturers. So these are people that you would go to with a brief. So I would say, I want to make an alcohol spray, blah, blah, blah. And then we would do research and development and then later manufacture.
And doing something in Melbourne or in your hometown is good because you can get minimum, like the smaller quantities. It's more expensive, but it's a good testing phase.
Not necessarily. It certainly actually was the opposite of that later on. But I just wanted someone close by so that I could connect with them.
Yeah.
Because I always found when I was working in sales, for example, that I would get much better results with people when I could meet them face to face. And obviously we continued to go deeper down the Zoom, online, virtual, everything path. But that was the initial idea. And so I did end up finding a manufacturer in Melbourne that I really wanted to work with. They weren't responding to any of my overloaded. Yeah, probably. And then I ended up actually going onto LinkedIn and looking up the names of people who worked there and then direct messaging them on LinkedIn and saying, I'm serious as a heart attack. I really want to do this. Yeah. And then she ended up calling me the following Monday, I think, and just being like, we get so many people who have a couple wines on a Friday night. And her email us and say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be the next Australian something entrepreneur. And then we never hear from them ever again. So you kind of taking that step proved to me that you were serious. So why don't you come in and help me? Yeah. And so we manufactured that formula together.
I like that. I like how you took the next step. It was a very easy block to go, this is just, it's too hard. No, what am I thinking?
Yeah.
What about, so that extra step that's great for a startup, any startup to know. Just push through it. So the cost and setup then. So you contacted the manufacturers. What is the cost in formulating a product?
So the cost in formulating that one in 2020 was around 4,000 or 5,000.
Okay.
For the fill only.
For the fill. Okay.
So the actual like formula inside.
Yeah.
But bearing in mind, it's not it's not a chemically super difficult product.
Yeah.
We did have to come up with fragrance and other things that we wanted to put in it to make it better. And I guess have more benefits than just like a straight alcohol spray.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that if you were making, for example, like a foundation or a cream blush or something, that would be higher. So I don't want to set anyone's expectations too low. But then the fill is just the beginning of it because then you've got to design the bottles, which means you've got to find the people who manufacture the bottles and then you've got to get the artwork for the bottles and then all the rest of it that comes with it.
So then you have this all, you've got your product and sitting there in these clear containers.
Yeah.
Then I'm assuming that they said, right, pick your bottle, where's your logo?
Yeah.
So this is entering your branding. So what at this point did you go into a brand strategy? Did you think, all right, what is this brand going to look like?
Yeah, really interesting. So I had a coffee with a friend because I had a vision. It's kind of lame now, but I had a vision for the brand that, well, you would know, Slim Aaron's. Like, long story short, St. Jack is named after my grandpa.
Yeah.
He died before I was born. He would have been in his heyday during like the Rat Pack era, right? So I had this vision for St. Jack to be like elevated, luxury, Slim Aaron sitting by the pool in Palm Springs. Like that's where the blue comes from. Yeah. And there's like one particular image from Slim Aaron's. It's called Poolside Gossip. It hangs in my kitchen now.
I think
You'll know the one.
I know
like
now.
The chick in the yellow dress.
Yep.
And I was like, this is the beginning. Like, this is the springboard for all of the branding for what St. Jack is and like what it's going to look and feel like. So I had that. And I only really got introduced to Slim Aaron's because I had coffee with a friend. She was like, what you're describing reminds me so much of this photographer. You need to go check him out.
Sometimes there's one photo and I call it the muse.
Yes.
And it's like, that's my muse. It's like one image.
Yeah.
And something about it, the mood of that image, and you want to take that mood and create that.
It's exactly what happened. And I look at that photo every day because it hangs in my house.
Yeah.
And I still feel like that encapsulates everything like I want in my life and my brand and everything. And
it's kept you on brand.
It has kept me on brand.
There you go.
And I mean, the color palette, there's no green in there, so I don't know where that's come from, but anyway, that's okay. I took that image and I'm pretty sure I went on a Facebook group that I'm still in, but I don't love, so I won't name. And I kind of said, does anyone have any hot leads for a good like graphic designer who can do logos and stuff like that? Because I didn't really know what I needed to get that.
Yeah.
And I got referred to the graphic designer who I've worked with on every single product and project since then. And yeah, she kind of gave me like the questionnaire and the what's your image and like what's the mood and can you make me a Pinterest board and blah, blah, blah. And then we got the first iteration of logos and stuff and went from there.
Okay. So engaging, she sounds like a qualified designer who's been through it. She maybe helped you figure out a bit of a brand strategy, but did she really engage with the mood and the vision of your brand?
Yeah.
Just like, here's a logo, here's some colors. She said, well, what are you? What are you going to be seen and known as?
Yeah. And it was really more collaborative than me to say, okay, this is the image I like. Can you make me a logo out of it? There were kind of different options and stuff. And then I got involved with my pen and paper. And I was like, well, what about if we took a bit of this and put that here and blah, blah, blah. And there was some kind of refinement. And then at the end of that project, I had logos, a submark, which is actually what I put on this model rather than a logo. I don't know. I guess I was feeling crazy that day. And some like a color palette.
Okay.
And some fonts, which we've kind of since completely moved away from.
Yeah.
But that's what I had.
I've noticed in branding, that's the first thing that tweaks. And you can sweep new fonts through a brand and it completely changes the feel, but it keeps you on brand. Just be very subtle with it. And so you had all your branding, your product is still with Formulator. She did your packaging as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So then how did you come up with the bottling? Did the Formulator sort of help you decide, or did you have to go and source that somewhere else?
They pointed me in the right direction of another supplier who they work with a lot. And I talked to that person at that bottle factory or supplier or whatever. And again, it was a 15,000 minimum.
Yeah.
And this is printed on, like this is on the bottle. It's not a label. It's not a label. It's printed on. It's got hot foil stamping. It's got 3 colors worth of commitment. It's serious commitment.
Because the other option is to purchase
a generic
15,000 bottles and then just put 5,000 labels and then have the bottles sitting there for another 100%. Product. So you committed.
Yeah. And I didn't want to do that because that's what I had experienced with this like similar product that was being imported from the States. And I was like, that was a piece of shit. So I want to make something really elevated that people are going to feel proud to use in front of their clients and to display on their, vanities and stuff like that. And also more importantly, in their setups at like a wedding in front of their clients. So I remember the person that they binged me off to said 15,000. I was like, well, that's not happening. So I went on to Google, found a manufacturing company in Queensland.
Okay.
And it was very important to me. I wanted everything to be certifiably Australian made with the Australian made like people.
Yeah.
You know, the kangaroo.
I wanted a kangaroo.
I wanted that. And so, yeah, I spoke to them and then I ended up going through them. And then I found out actually later on that they were really just like a third party and the bottles were actually being manufactured in China, which isn't a huge drama, but made me not want to work with them again because I felt like they weren't honest about
They
that.
weren't actually Australian owned, made. Everything.
No, they were making some stuff in the factory in Queensland and it wasn't until it was ready to be delivered. And she's like, oh yeah, so it gets into port on XYZ day. And I'm like, port? What do you mean port? You're in Brisbane. Like, what port are we talking about? But their minimums were 5,000.
Okay.
So much more manageable.
Yeah. And in the first year of launching, what happened? So you have this bottle, you get everything, you got your bottles, and you're sitting there with your 5,000 bottles now. Actually, first, what were the costs of your branding setup?
So the design?
Yeah.
I want to say
Roundabout. We don't have to give the cost to.
yeah, well, I wouldn't remember. But I want to say it was like maybe 2,500.
And that was in 2020. 2020. Yeah. Okay. So there's got your bottles sitting there, 5,000 bottles.
Yeah.
What did you do?
When they were ready to go.
Yeah. What was your plan? You had created a website. How did you get online?
Well, actually, we're currently sitting in the Commons in Collingwood, and I was working at the Commons at the time for someone else.
Yeah.
And I reached out to the Commons community and I said, does anybody know a web developer who can help me? I think actually I even reached out to you and I was like, holy shit, I can't afford it. But one day, I was like, one day.
And it's how we met.
Yeah, it is. Beth reached out to me in,
I don't know.
2020.
It was 2020 because I was at home in my backyard. I distinctly remember I was like, I'm going to have some time out. And I was sitting in the sun and my phone rang and I was like, I'm going to pick up all the work.
Yeah, I mean,
And we just had a chat.
your websites are like extraordinary. I just was going so lean that I was like, I love it. I'm going to have this in my back pocket for later when I'm a million. And
That expensive.
no, not that expensive. No, I'm kidding. We could probably swing something soon. But somebody else was working in here and I got recommended to him. And yeah, he made the website for me in 2020. I think it cost like $600.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I cannot comprehend how he did that. Like,
Yeah, he did that.
not normal. Oh my goodness. All right.
And he did, I mean, it was pretty cheap. Maybe I'm underballing it. I don't remember. It was definitely less than 1,000.
Was it, in all honesty, did he use a template? Was it
100%.
Okay. So you can get a website for cheap. And I'm all about startups. Like, what is the cheapest way to launch, but still doing it well?
Yeah, I can tell you, I think
Themes are pretty.
I think it was prestige.
Prestige.
I think I'm still in a theme now, so maybe it's prestige.
Well, you can start in a theme. So you can be like, all right, just get my stuff up, I'm live. And then you can code over the theme. So you can keep developing the site that you have.
We've definitely done that now.
Yeah.
But I still keep, I mean, your website's the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
And you would know that. And I reached out to you because I knew you had built certain websites that I loved.
One day.
One day. In the meantime, though, I'm pretty happy with like my conversion rate optimization and the theme works and whatever. But at the time I was like, simple is good because really I hadn't even tested the product to market. I didn't know if anyone was going to buy it. And I was trying to, I mean, I'd already spent extraordinary amounts of money at this point, but I was like, let's keep it lean where we can.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Yeah. And so you're online sitting there and it's 2020, but you're well versed with TikTok. What did you do to explain your first year?
So the Makeup Cleaning Mist launched at the beginning of 2021. And then that's when Australia started all taking like different approaches to lockdown and COVID. So for example, like Queensland was pretty free. Melbourne stayed pretty locked up. And so makeup artists and beauty professionals were kind of able to start working. So I really just, gosh, what did I do?
Did you zone in on the places that were open on Queensland?
No, but I ended up selling a lot to Queensland because they were more open than anyone else. So I think I was reaching out to makeup artists who I really admired when I was a makeup artist to be like, hey, I made this product. Like, would you be interested in me sending it to you for free? Like, no obligation to post, something like that. I mean, my approach to that would probably be different now because I think people are more like clued into just getting free stuff. They don't want to feel like they're obliged to do things. But because I was a makeup artist and they were makeup artists, I think it was all very like
support.
Yeah, and like community vibes. And yeah, it kind of just grew from there. I mean, when I had that one single product, probably by the time I launched the brush cleaner a year and a bit later, no, almost 2 years later, my community was a couple thousand really loyal makeup artists.
And once you have a product as a makeup artist and it seems that you didn't have a lot of competition, it just gets around and it's really pretty. And as you said, it sits there. And even during COVID, there were so many makeup tutorial things going on.
Yeah.
So they were using their brushes still. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it all worked out for that one. I mean, it was a much slower burn. Had I have launched with the brush cleaner that had appeal to like regular makeup lovers, immediately, I think my business would have kind of taken off a lot faster. But I look back,
everyone was cleaning a lot. So
I do look back on that time, and I'm really glad that that's the way it worked out, because I started with a really strong base of people just like me who could communicate my product. I had the time, because I didn't have so many customers. I had the time to really get to know people, and now they're relationships and loyal customers I have almost like 4 years later. Yeah. So it all works out. But yeah, he's my first child.
Never repackage your first child. No.
Oh, he's currently being repackaged.
The OG. So have you anybody specific that helped you or influenced you in that first year?
There were a couple like business type courses that I was doing, and the people who were running them, they were in a partnership and they've since dissolved. So I don't know if that's like super helpful to talk about, but I was running through a beta testing kind of mentorship thing with them. And so they were like, for a launch, you can do this and you can do that and you can do this. But really I was just doing it on the fly based on what I had experienced of other brands as a consumer.
Yeah.
I also was really aware, because of my experience in digital marketing, that this product wasn't going to be the kind of product that I could throw up an ad, even though we were in the heyday of making money on ads in 2021.
So you say you couldn't throw up an ad, and why not?
Because if the blue one didn't have mass market appeal, like it was a very niche audience, and so you would exhaust that audience really, really quickly. And so I was really depending on organic relationship building, organic customer. I did have TikTok, and that I think went a long way for me because I put a lot of effort into content creation, but I would probably on TikTok was ending up selling it to people who just wanted to support me as a business owner rather than somebody who really could use that product in a way that was going to be meaningful to them. So it was an interesting,
and we were in a time where a lot of people were supporting local.
Yeah.
And I really feel like that's gone away a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think people care.
Go back to local. So what was one of your blessed mistakes? I call them a mistake that you look back at now, and at the moment you were like, my life is over, put me in the ground, but now you're thinking, I am so glad that happened. I got something that you look back on now and you're really happy that mistake happened, because it wasn't a mistake, it was just a jolt in the right direction. You don't say names, but just roughly.
No, it's not a name thing. Okay, I was working on a formula very recently. A new formula that's not released yet, and the formula was like all signed up on the formula. It's like amazing, and then there was kind of a comedy of errors on the shoot that we did like 2 months ago. And I was like, it's okay, we've got this formula, it's gonna be great. And then the formula kind of like just didn't work the way I thought it was gonna work. There was reasons why.
Yeah.
That I could understand, but I was like, this is my red flag to be like, I need to make sure that this is going to be like an ongoing problem.
Yeah.
So I have got all the packaging air freighted from China because I'm like, the formula's ready to go. We've done the shoot. Like, we can do this so quickly. Like, let's go. Like, I thought I was going to have a new product have here with a formula. But a formula I'd signed up on maybe like over a year ago, I noticed something in it that I hadn't noticed before, and I was like, I probably should have done some more testing on this. Like, I did a lot of rigorous testing, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I was like, more so that I didn't waste money on air freighting these around because I wanted something to happen fast. So that was a good one for me.
And now moving forward, it's about just wait, follow your intuition. Because what is the difference between another few weeks if it's going to affect the reputation of your brand? Because one bad formula can just
That's the thing. The formula wasn't bad, but there was kind of a comedy of errors, and we had to use it on something it wasn't intended for. And it just didn't work the way I would have expected it to. Yeah. And even though that's not its intended use, I was like, somebody might make that jump because people use this stuff in all ways that I don't understand. And I would just hate for anything to not be up to my standards. And so I was like, no, hold everything. Because I know that we could have made it and maybe nobody ever would have had that same comedy of errors, but it didn't matter to me.
Yeah. And that's integrity from the base. You have a small business. If you build it with integrity, it's going to be stronger. So big mistake, but you learn from it. And in a year's time, you go back and you're like, really? How that happened? And it's so beautiful. And it sits in my warehouse every day, like the empty packaging for it. I can't wait for it to be born. But we wait. Another year of business is not as big as we did. So with your branding, you've got 2 products. You've been staring at the same branding for years. Do you get bored of your branding?
Yeah.
Definitely. And have you, with respect to right designer, but of course you do. You just spend time with it
All day, every day.
And what makes you not just suddenly do something off brand?
Well, I did.
I noticed that when you brought it in, and I was going to say, well, that. It's an addition. It's not. Yeah, I feel like it's cute.
So for stuff like that, so that's a nice coffee cup that we made. And for stuff like that, I was like, that's not really going to be like a permanent me safety. Like,
I'm going to open your coffee cup.
And weirdly, I love
I'll hold the into that camera in front of your face there. Like this beautiful little bubbly font. Things like this, though, especially if it's a short run, you can do something fun.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if I did like more, like that, like in the future, I would probably go in that direction. The reason why I don't change it for the rest of it is because when I order these bottles, I'm ordering thousands at a time. Like I took a delivery for the brush cleaning bottles, like the green ones. In January, there was 8,000.
Yeah.
So for me to make that change, I have to roll that out across all of these different bottles. It's a really substantial change.
Yeah.
So you'd want to be pretty sure.
Exactly.
And I think that I love it. I just think I spend so much time with it that you kind of wonder, you're like, do I have the itch for it? But I love the way, particularly the green brush cleaning bottle that came a few years ago.
Yeah. They work well together. And some people are only now still discovering your brand for the first time.
Yeah.
So if you had to change every 6 to 12 months or every time you got bored, it just loses. Yeah. It loses the strength.
Yeah.
In a way.
So I think for stuff like this, I can do fun stuff, and for the main stuff, we can stay.
And so yes, you've gotten bored with it and you're on brand, but have you relooked at your brand strategy, the future of your business, since you've launched?
Interesting that you say that, because I have had those thoughts. I just haven't had the time or the energy to really kind of like get to the bottom of why I feel that way. And if it's just because I'm getting a little bit fatigued of like, I want something fresh and new, because it's been a while. But at the same time, for example, that new product I was just telling you about, when I see that in all of its glory, I'm like, that is stunning.
Yeah.
Would change nothing. Like I love it. It's gorgeous. So I have had those thoughts, maybe I would look into that, in a couple of years, but like, I don't really know why. So it's not urgent.
Is it something that you would do a bit of a brand audit and go back to the beginning stage of your business and say, right, it's time to think about the next 5 years of Sage or the next 10 years, and are we on brand?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would more be when I started Teen Jacket, I started with the makeup cleaning mist and that vision and that photo and all this sort of stuff, that Rat Pack vibe. I had very much internally this idea of like, what was I going to sound like as a founder? What was the brand going to sound like in content and present like and all this sort of thing? And in my head, I thought it was going to be like super refined and like elegant. And in my head, I was like, it's going to be like diptyque of cleaning, like that really like elegant thing. Yeah. And I think what I've discovered is can be elegant, but that's not who I am at all. Yeah. I'm like a silly goose and I'm fun. And like the way that I've communicated my brand and got in front of people is by entertaining them. And so should my branding be really refined? I think like it is now, or should it be heading more in that direction where it's really fun and getting people's attention? So that would be something that I would want to look into.
And it's because you're so connected to your brand. I always say you need to connect your business to your brand and your brand to you. Because you need to feed and breathe into your brand. And, you know, you had this idea for this refined look, but if you can't maintain that, it just doesn't actually keep going. Like, I know people genuinely are these super bougie people, and I was like, I could never keep up. Like, I couldn't hold that facade. But if you got this goosey fun bit, and you just like unleash that into your brand,
and I think it's really fun. And like, I'm really confident that I've got the right people working with me to do it. But it would take a lot of guts and money from me to be like, all right, let's do it. Let's do this overhaul and this rollout. And I just cannot.
You can't start it right now. And look, it all doesn't have to, I feel like I'm in a meeting with you now. It all doesn't have to happen straight away. I'm so excited for your brand. Like, you can do it in stages, and there's this like awkward teenage stage when you're rejigging a brand where everyone looks a bit awkward, and then they bloom.
Yeah. I mean, like, we've redone color palettes and stuff like that. Like, the grain of the brush cleaner wasn't in the original color palette that we did. And it was like navies and like kind of deep like oranges and stuff. Like, that's just not what I wanted. And when I was making the brush cleaner, I was like, in my head, it has to be this like really gorgeous green, because green is clean.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make that connection. And then, we've gone completely other direction. So we probably need to sort of
redo
things out. Yeah.
All right. So what is your key brand messaging when you're speaking to audiences now? What are you actually trying to say to them?
I'm trying to say to them, I get it. It's boring and it sucks. Cleaning your brushes is boring, and you don't do your makeup because you're like, can't wait to clean this up afterwards, can't wait to, clean down the palette I use to mix my foundations together. Like, nobody really wants to do that.
Yeah.
So my messaging is, I get it, because I wear makeup and I have to do it for myself. But also, as a former makeup artist, I used to have to do it for hours and hours every weekend. So what I'm giving you is the easiest possible way and the most probably fun way to just get it done and just get it out of the way so you continue living your life. Because life isn't about that.
Yeah.
And so I just try to communicate with people that I get it. It's like, it's not your life and death thing. And it's not as exciting as maybe buying a new Hourglass bronzer that's going to make you feel really hot, but it's essential. So let's make the most of it.
Let's make it look nice. And you feel that it's...
And let's make it easy, and let's make it something that you're proud to display, and it might actually remind you, oh, I got to do that.
Yes, because when you hide away, if you hide the product away, you forget about it.
Yeah.
Right. And how do you keep producing content for what you did for one product? Like, do you feel you need to come up with new ideas, or do you feel that just banging on the same message is better for you?
Well, it's a very interesting question that you ask at this particular moment in time. So when the brush cleaner was born, I started to put the makeup cleaning mist to the side, because I'd spent maybe 2 years really nurturing makeup artists who were going to continue to buy it, essentially, no matter what. They loved it. They can buy it when they need it.
Yeah.
And then so all of my content became brush cleaning focused. And then I felt like I'm producing so much product-based content that that's fine. That's good. We need it. It works in ads. That's great. Need all that sort of stuff. But what value am I really bringing to someone if I'm just like, you need this product, it's going to change your life, and you clean your brush. Clean your brush. Like, you do need a little bit of that. Like, don't get me wrong. And I've probably been lacking there recently. And what we're kind of leaning into more at the moment is like more brand marketing, where it's about me and it's about the people. That's going to clip, sorry. Where it's about me. It's about the people I work with. It's about my experience as a business owner. And honestly, just doing things to get as much positive attention as we can.
Like putting yourself as the face of the brand.
Yeah, but like just having fun with it. And it's like the product is like to the side. Yeah. Like, we're just having so much fun. Like, just get on board with what we're doing and you're going to love it. And then also, by the way, while you're here, we make, Australia's favorite brush cleaner. But, that's kind of how we're going at the moment, to the point where yesterday we had a meeting. I was like, we should probably do a brush cleaning video soon. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of like, office and humor prank stuff recently. So maybe we should do something else. But, this is advice for anyone who's going to get into the content game. So it's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
It's a theory that I heard from somebody else, like, I don't know, a year or two ago. But the idea is that you have videos on your TikTok, for example, or your Instagram or your YouTube shorts. And by the way, you should be posting all of your videos to all those platforms, even if you feel like it's repetitive. You have videos that drive traffic to your profile.
Yeah.
And then what's on your profile when they get there. So I create videos that are going to drive traffic to my profile by usually entertaining someone in some way, or going out the front of Mecca and taking someone on a shopping spree or something like that. And then those 400,000, 1 million, 2 million people who see those videos are going to go onto the St. Jack profile. And the first thing they see when they get there is the top 3 videos on my profile that are pinned there. Are all about the brush cleaner.
Okay.
And it's instant and it's quick and it's this and it's that. So they're like, who is this girl who's like dressed up as a giant COVID in Chadstead? And then they go on their profile, they're like, oh, she likes this brush cleaner.
Yeah.
So it's all about probably finding your balance between product-based to show what you do and why it's so amazing, but getting people there.
Yeah.
Because no longer is it going to cut it to just be like product, me. People just swipe away.
Yeah. And TikTok's not about the sell.
No, it's not.
It's just, but if you're not an entertainer, how is TikTok the right space, or do you just?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's easier when you're an entertainer, just like me. It's easier when you are willing to kind of put yourself out there on that level. But you know, there's a space in TikTok to educate, to entertain, and to inspire. So you've got to find one of those 3 things. If you can't do one of those 3 things, then maybe it's not for you. I think the biggest place that people fall down, and I saw this back in the day when I was working at the agency years ago, is people feel very entitled around TikTok. Like, I didn't get any views, but my video was awesome. And then I go and watch the video and it's just offering no one anything, you know? And it's like, well, let's actually do a bit of a dive onto why that video didn't perform, because you have to imagine every video is going to a stranger.
Yeah.
And if that stranger doesn't know who you are, why would they say and watch you? So it's just, I think brands are really falling down because they're not willing to play
people think because they're popular in their suburb or school that the whole world knows them.
No. And it's like, so what are you going to do that interests somebody who's never heard of you before?
Yeah. I think the biggest hits that I've had on my non-existent TikTok is toffee.
People love dogs. They love dogs.
Well, it's better than watching us design a logo or a website. So we're like,
but even then, there's ways of that where it's like, you know, like time lapses or like cut out pieces of a meeting that you'll have with a client for a first time, because if people can inject themselves into what they're watching, it will entertain them and hold their gaze, right? But I think people fall down because they're like, oh, I can just extrapolate my Instagram strategy onto TikTok and I can put my campaign imagery up there and everyone's just going to love it. Or a 17-minute makeup tutorial. Nobody's watching shit on TikTok for 17 minutes.
So quick.
So let's get to the point.
Yeah. YouTube. Put your 17 tutorial.
Yeah, put it on YouTube. See how that goes. Yeah.
So, all right. And I just have a couple more questions before we finish up. So my last question was, how do you find social media landscape now?
It's harder. It's harder now than it was even like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier to go viral then. And I think people are really lacking a lot of originality on social media. And so audiences are getting really tired as well.
Yeah.
That I know for sure. Yeah. Because everything looks the same. Everything looks the same. Everything has the same feel. You know, brands are doing similar kind of like jokes and skits and all this sort of thing. And it's not landing well right now. And so it's like, what can you do to break through the noise? It was a lot easier. I have people copy my TikToks all the time. I don't really care anymore. Like yesterday, so funny, we posted a TikTok that we just made in a cafe, and then a brand they're in apparel, so I don't care. Yeah. They favorited my video, and then 2 minutes later, they like had ripped off the whole thing.
What was it?
It was just like a video of us sitting in a cafe being like, oh, isn't it essential for you to have like a Monday morning recap of your weekend with your work wife type thing? Yeah. And it was almost word for word copied after they'd saved it. I was like, oh my God.
Next trend.
Yeah.
And Monday recap.
Yeah. And like TikToks are interesting that way because we're all doing trends and that's not copying, but that one, it comes straight from the brain. They've just done it. But it is harder to get views. And I think consistency then becomes the most important thing. Yeah. And also, other than that, it's taking your ego out of it. So maybe a year ago, I would have been really upset if I was looking at my numbers and my views right now. I would be like, oh, this is ridiculous. Like, why aren't people watching? Why aren't they liking it? Now I'm like, oh, well, didn't hit. On to the next one. Yeah. And like, let's look at the analytics that are available to us. At what point did they drop off? Okay, so what can we do better? Okay. Whereas I think a lot of people would just be like, oh, well, it didn't work. So like, I'm not going to do it again. TikTok, oh my God, it's not for me. And then 2 months later, some teenagers probably told them, you need to be on TikTok. So they're like, I'm back on TikTok. It's just, you got to stay there for the whole 2 months and figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very passionate about this. No, it's a bit of a mystery to me. As I said, I live under a rock and just create stuff for everybody else. All right. So any sort of last advice for people entering the beauty stage or beauty industry? Is that the industry you're in? If they want to start a product?
Yeah. You know what? I think if I could do anything differently, so this would be my advice, is I've entered my now question everything era, where I'll get a price for something or I'll get a timeline for something, and not in a rude way, but I'll be like, why? Or 2 months ago that was 50 cents less, or what's going on here, and can you explain this to me, and what other alternatives do we have? Do I need to order more to bring that cost down, or stuff like that, right? Okay. Whereas when I made my blue product, they just told me the price and I was like, okay, that's what it costs. And so I think that came out of me having no experience and just being really naive that there's probably no room to move or no room to negotiate. But that's not the case now, because I've figured that out. Yeah. And so my advice to someone would be, if you get told something is true, you have every right to ask why. Yeah. And if it doesn't sit well with you, you have so many more options, and you don't have to stay with that supplier or manufacturer or whatever it is. You can like do your research and find someone else, but ask lots and lots and lots of questions so that you actually understand.
Yeah. And follow your intuition. Always follow that gut feeling.
Always. Yeah.
Right. Well, look, thank you so much. You're welcome. Being on the show. I could talk to you for hours about, especially TikTok. Like, give me a TikTok rundown, please.
We can do a TikTok masterclass.
I feel like people, that would go down really, really well. There probably are already masterclasses and courses and TikTok coaches out there. Right. But I have clients who I was like, get on TikTok. I can talk. And they're like, oh, I just don't want to. And it's like, I don't know what to give you. I don't know what to tell you.
I know.
It's like, well, that confidence of being in front of the camera, looking like, I'm going to say, well, people say like looking like an idiot. Nobody wants to look like an idiot. But then like when I look at your TikToks and you're doing all these like fun, crazy stuff, I don't say, oh, she's being an idiot. It's courageous. It's like, oh, look at her confidence. You don't.
Yeah. And it's interesting though, because I wasn't born that way. Like I used to hate drama class in school. I hate putting myself out there. I hate being the center of attention. I don't like it when people sing happy birthday to me. I don't like it, but I knew I had to do that for this. And where I really struggle is
the OG.
The OG. It's like, it had to get me there. And I just really, I went, that agency that I worked for before.
We would have learned a lot there though.
I did. I worked for them again very recently, and I was in charge of their TikTok team. So I was working with brands on their TikToks and telling them all of this and consulting with them. And this is how I know that brands are coming into it really entitled. Like, well, I should just be able to do this and get results and get conversions. Yeah. No, you have to really work at it. It's just because you're 4 years late.
Yeah.
You're 4 years late. 4 years ago, you could have done whatever and got conversions, but now you've got to really like put effort in. So if you want something out of anything, you have to put effort in, right? So, yeah. I'm very passionate about it.
So yeah, whole masterclass on TikTok. Next up, TikTok masterclass with Beth. Well, thank you so much again.
Yeah, well,
I've never seen your products in real life, so it's great to actually hold them and see them, and they're beautiful. Thank you for your advice and your story, and hopefully we'll have you on the show in a few years when you're that millionaire.
Oh my God,
you can afford me as a web designer.
Not that expensive.
Not that expensive.
It's not that bad. It was just a joke. Just at the time, I said it up. Oh my God, I'm just a baby. All right, great.
Thanks you so much. That's so good. Thanks. This is A Treat on a Pedestal with Beth Wilson from St. Jack, and I am Justine Malone from Malone Co Studio.